and
You
stuff
may
like
have
that,
to
which is
rename
bad.
this show
But
because you're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
hey, what can I say?
I think you could say I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I don't think this is good for society. So in this video, I'm going to break down just not this debate, but what I believe the impact of these sorts of debates are. So Mehdi Hasan debated 20 far-right conservatives in at least a few cases, just open fascists, through the website Jubilee. They host these sorts of debates. I think I covered a recent one with Sam Cedar, where it's, at least in this case, one person versus 20 other people, and it's sort of this rapid-fire debate process that I think is ridiculous. And this Mehdi Hasan debate now has 2.2 million views in just a day. So I'm going to get to my personal experience with Jubilee and why I turned down a debate last year, as well as why I don't think this is good. Despite the fact that Mehdi Hasan did a fantastic job from what I saw. I didn't watch the whole thing because I'm not going to subject myself to that. But from what I saw, he did fantastic. From what I heard, Mehdi Hasan might honestly be the best debater in the world. So I have no doubt that he did well in this quote unquote debate. But that isn't my issue. My issue is that we're even having a debate with these absolute lunatics, which inherently is giving value to their perspective. So let me start with the clip with how Jubilee attempted to promote this debate, and honestly the reason why I didn't even try to watch the whole thing. But here is the clip that they shared online.
My family lineage is settlers from the 1500s. So
You don't look very Native American to me.
I am Native American. Whites
not.
are Native Americans. What are you
Sorry,
talking about?
you're not.
What are you talking about?
You're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
Hey, what can I say?
I think you could say I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
Listen to me. I am an immigrant. I'm speaking from personal experience.
Get the hell out.
I don't even like... I should get the hell out.
Yes.
Why?
I don't want you here.
So this was essentially a debate on human decency. Why are we debating this? What is the actual point of this? What is the impact of this is what I'm most concerned about. So if you watch this and you're like, wow, Mehdi Hasan did a great job, he really killed their arguments, you are someone who's more informed, you're aware, you have human decency and maybe a little more awareness of reality than some people do. Because the actual impact of something like this is not a positive. We are platforming absolute lunatics, making it appear that these are even positions, perspectives worth engaging when they simply are not. And this leads into the discussions that existed around climate change and exist now around trans rights that have set us back years because of the propaganda being uplifted in a way that makes it appear there is a debate when there is no debate. So, just to be clear on some of these loons, this guy here was a part of Nick Fuentes' Groyper movement known as Pine Sap. So, again, an open fascist. I mean, that was clear in the video. Somebody else, this guy here, apparently also part of that fascist movement. Mehdi Hasan saying, I obviously had no idea about any of this, and Jubilee cast these folks, not me. So I want to be clear, I'm not, Mehdi Hasan was kept in the dark, obviously, by Jubilee. I'm not sure if he would have taken the debate if he knew who he was debating. Regardless, this isn't a video criticizing him. I'm sure he did a great job. The issue here is what Jubilee is trying to do. And I'm sure they justified in their own minds, hey, this is a great way to debate these ideas. And I'm sure they have all these internal justifications for what they're doing. The reality is they are giving voice to absolute lunacy in a way that helps to spread it, not eradicate it. This gets to a couple of reactions here, then I'll get to how this relates to other issues. Emma here writing, I desperately need people to understand that there is no way of bringing these people back. You cannot reason with them. The only thing you can do is shame them for saying this shit. Won't change their mind, but if enough people do it, they will be quiet again. Now, I understand, of course, a debate like this, the point isn't to change the mind of the person you're sitting across from. That's clearly not going to happen, considering they're being paid to give that insane perspective. But even people watching at home, unless you're aware of reality and you understand what you're watching, it is not helpful. This gets to the media aspect of this. So Itan Nichin writes here, the alarming part of this is that Silicon Valley-run media platforms have normalized Nazis and their allies who spew hate daily. They're on X now and YouTube now, but soon they'll be on prime time. May I remind you of what the phony debate around the climate caused? Back in the 80s and 90s, there was widespread perception that we should be protecting the environment, even at the risk of curbing economic growth. That was a widely held view by over 70% of the population. Then, the fossil fuel industry went heavy on their propaganda around climate change around the year 2000 and beyond, which led to this massive drop in people no longer prioritizing the environment in a way that they once were. And again, this is back, in the 80s here, late 80s, 90s. That's when we addressed the hole in the ozone layer. We did that very effectively, including with conservative governments. Canada at the time had a conservative government, and we're one of the leaders in that charge. There was no real debate around what the issue was. The fossil fuel industry made it a debate, even though the debate was presented often as an equal debate. In the case of CNN here, debate rages over fossil fuels. This is back in November 2000. How much the burning of fossil fuels is increasing global warming is still a matter of debate among scientists. No, it wasn't. It never was. It isn't. Yet this was how it was presented. And even though it was presented as a debate, not even that, it's phony or anything like I'm sure they were presenting on Fox News. Even though it was presented as a debate, it legitimized one side of the debate that had no legitimacy. They had these debates on CNN, on Crossfire. It's cold outside, so CNN debates climate change, where they had on one person who was a climate denier, the other person who just was either a scientist or spoke from a position of reality, but made it appear to the average viewer as if it was a debate at all, when it simply was not a debate. This gets to the issue now of trans rights, where it's simply an issue of human rights, human decency, kindness, awareness, yet it has been turned into a debate to the point where people are shifting their perspective on trans rights in the negative because of the amount of propaganda being thrown at them through the media, the amount of debates being had on this, when again, this is not a debate. We're talking about human rights, human decency. So Pew Research here. From earlier this year, Americans have grown more supportive of restrictions for trans people in recent years. So, we can go issue by issue here. I have some examples relating to at least one of these. But require trans athletes to compete on teams that match their sex at birth. People have become more restrictive of that. Make it illegal for healthcare professionals to provide minors with medical care for a gender transition. This has existed for years and years and years. Only recently became an issue. Look at the amount of people that are now wanting to restrict trans rights. Require trans people to use public bathrooms that match their sex at birth. I have some stories related to this, but look at, we're talking everyone here. Democrat-leaning people as well, are now more pro-restricting, or I should say anti-trans rights, than they were before. Make it illegal for public school districts to teach about gender identity in elementary schools. We're talking about an issue of awareness, free speech, education. People are more restrictive of just the education of it. Protect trans people from discrimination in jobs, housing, public spaces such as restaurants and stores. Support for that has gone down across the board. And require health insurance companies to cover medical care for gender transitions. It's gone down, despite the fact that we are talking about a tiny portion of the population, and it does it goes a long way to allowing trans people to live healthy lives, mentally healthy lives, and people are restrictive of this, largely, at least partly due to the level of propaganda that they are being told. So on the issue, for example, of bathrooms, this has led to, so of course, these sorts of perspectives hurt trans people most. I think that goes without saying, but it also impacts all people. Cis woman mistaken as transgender records being berated in bathroom. Woman says Boston hotel guard told her to leave bathroom because she was a man. Cis woman confronted by police officers in Arizona Walmart restroom looking too masculine speaks out. These sorts of anti-trans positions clearly, as I said, impact trans people most, but it impacts society in a way where people become insane. Case in point, Pedro Rodriguez, who is a Spanish footballer, had to disable comments on Instagram after facing criticism for sharing photos from his son Mark's birthday. Mark chose to celebrate wearing a dress and a tiara inspired by a Lilo and Stitch theme. And this became a massive story because his son wanted to enjoy his birthday party. As Evie on Twitter reacted here, saying transphobes scream, quote, let kids be kids, and then force strict gender roles and stereotypes onto them and shame them for doing something that makes them happy but doesn't fit into society's strict idea of gender. This is simply an issue of people allowing to be themselves. Why are we making this a political issue? It's not a political issue. It's an issue of human decency, human rights. This doesn't hurt you. Trans rights don't affect your life at all, but they do impact trans people's lives. Yet we have made it into a political issue where we are demonizing trans people to the point that perspectives have shifted in a way where people no longer support trans rights in the percentages that they once did. So this gets to the PBS News story here, why anti-transgender political ads are dominating the election airwaves this season. So in lieu of the Republican Party and Trump having any real message for anything, they focused a lot of their commercials on trans people. Less than 1% of the U.S. population identifies as transgender, but this election year, Republicans have spent a considerable amount of money on ads demonizing transgender people. From October 7th to 20th, Trump's campaign and pro-Trump groups spent an estimated $95 million, and more than 41% of those ads were anti-trans. It's very easy to fearmonger around issues that people don't quite understand than it is to actually address issues of affordability, healthcare, any actual political issues. This is an issue of human rights, and they used it as a scapegoat to try and fearmonger. Now, if you actually look at the results of the election and exit polling, most people voted because of the economy. They thought somebody else would do a better job. Their vote largely wasn't because of their anti-trans position. But my concern isn't about, the vote at the election. My concern is about general feelings around trans people and trans rights and how it has been impacted by this level of propaganda. This gets to why I did not do this debate that I was invited to do. So this is from last year. I shared this on Blue Sky and Twitter, where I got this email from Jubilee inviting me to do a debate for called Men's Rights Activists versus Feminists. And they, included an example of the sorts of debates they hold. I turned it down. They replied back saying, thanks for letting me know. Is there any other topic that could pique your interest? And I replied saying, appreciate it, but I'm not interested. I just don't fundamentally agree that every issue has two sides worth engaging with. There's often an actual right and wrong, and that gets lost in these sorts of staged debates where we pretend both perspectives should be valued. I'm also nowhere near California. But this is just, I do not see the point of debating people who are wrong, who don't value human life the same as I do. It's one thing to, debate tax rates or something. It's another to debate human rights. I'm not going to debate human rights. I don't think it makes sense to debate human rights. I don't think it makes sense to engage fascists on their level when their argument is, I don't believe in human rights. So as great as a debater as, whoever it is, Mehdi Hasan, as great as he is, the actual impact of what he did, or I should say what Jubilee did, I think is in the negative. Because people like me, could watch that debate and think, oh, Mehdi Hasan did a great job. He killed their debates. That doesn't mean the average person who doesn't know anything comes away with that perspective. A lot of people will come away thinking that the other side of that debate, the fascists, have a point, or they're even worth engaging with at all, when they simply are not. We have seen the examples of climate change, trans rights, I'm sure there are many others, where there has been sunlight given to absolute insane positions, and it has led to a place where we are worse off because of it.